What's up, guys? This is Built by Fear. I'm Doug. Today we have an episode featuring Andre Mathis, good friend of mine from back in high school. We talk about football, high school, all sorts of things, and definitely get into the Lord and his testimony. So check it out. Enjoy. Hey, bro.
What up, man?
Mr. Mathis.
What up, bro?
It's good to see you.
So what up, white guy?
Glad you on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Exactly.
Thanks for having me.
I normally don't start the intro to it, but I guess it's been so long since we kind of linked up together. Andre, we used to play football together back at Cy Ridge days. What'd you play? Linebacker?
I played
defensive end?
linebacker, defensive end.
What was that like in between, position between? What was it? Viper? What they call it? Viper?
They called it,
What we called it?
at Ridge, they called it Ram. They had Ram and which basically was
Outside.
outside linebackers.
Right.
Yeah, that's all it was.
Pretty much you kind of fast. You still kind of fast, Andre?
Definitely not. Definitely not. Nah, that was, that left probably about 5 years ago.
I feel you.
Yeah.
Oh, do you remember that time we linked up to play flag football though?
Yep, I remember.
Yeah.
That was like, that was a long time ago, but it wasn't too far removed from school though. I
I
remember.
would say like 2014.
Yeah.
Something like that.
We still had it. We still had it a little bit then. Yeah.
I was much better then.
Yeah. Then you
I was more conditioned. I was playing all my emotions that I didn't get out in high school
yeah.
playing football.
It was actually pretty dope. It was actually pretty dope. That was actually a good little link up.
Did you end up trying to play football in college?
I did, man. I had tried out for Blinn. That didn't happen and then I was gonna walk on at HBU, but I ended up having my daughter.
Got you.
So I ended up choosing the whole dad route. And I was going to go to this school in Austin, some D3 school. I was in contact with the coach there, and I was actually going to move my daughter in at the time, her mom there, but then it was just like, no, that's too much.
A lot.
It was a lot,
But bro, listen, bro, you a father, whole bunch has changed.
man.
So let's start kind of backtrack all the way through. We'll catch up to where we at today.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about sports, because I know for me, sports and athletics have had a huge impact on what I do today.
Right.
So would you say the same for your life?
Facts. 100%. 100%.
So where'd that drive come from? So let's talk about what was your first sport?
Football.
Football.
Football is my only sport up until high school.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So when did you start football?
I started playing football when I was like, was it 5th grade? So I want to say 11.
Okay.
Yeah, I started playing organized football at 11.
See, I wasn't down here.
Mm-hmm.
What grade are you in 11? Like 5th grade?
Yep, 5th grade.
Grade? Did y'all schools have football? Like
No.
elementary school?
Nah, so we didn't get organized football to middle school, 7th,
Right.
8th grade.
So how'd you play football in 5th grade?
Little league.
Okay.
You're technically still in little league until you're, I want to say, 13 or 14.
Got it.
You can even play when you're semi in middle school too, depending on the league, I think.
And then you went up to Campbell, right?
I actually went to Blau.
Blau, you played at Blau.
I played at Blau for 8th grade. I didn't play 7th grade, but I played 8th grade.
And then Cy Ridge,
And then-
everything changed.
I went to Creek freshman year. Then I transferred to Ridge.
Then you went back to Creek.
Yeah, well, no, I went to JV senior year.
You went to JV, because I remember you moved that senior year. Okay. Did you end up playing senior year or no?
I played at Ridge senior year, then I left mid-season and went to JV,
Gotcha.
and JV was trash at that time. So
Yeah.
I wasn't trying and I started to play for them.
For sure.
So, but yeah,
Okay. Let's talk about high school football. What was like some big things in high school football that stood out to you?
man, I was thinking the other day, bro, I honestly didn't realize, I really had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah.
I really didn't, I truly didn't understand football until I graduated high school and was trying to pursue it in college.
Say,
And that's when I was like, wow,
it's like an epiphany.
yeah,
And what it really did for me is to kind of humble me. Because now when I see these kids, it's like all-stars in
Yeah.
high school. One, they got some athletic gifts. But then you start to see the ones that got just the football IQ.
right,
That's really what I didn't have. I didn't
That's
have
what a lot of
football
us have.
IQ.
right.
I didn't understand the game as much. But once I understood the game, I'm like, bro, y'all be
I thought I understood the game, but I really didn't. I was just out there going through the motions every day for years.
I know we talked about this before. We played I don't know if we get it on camera, but you played a linebacker and defensive end.
And yeah,
No offense.
no offense at all.
Unless it was on scout team.
Exactly.
Bro, you know what I was thinking about the other day?
What happened?
I got trucked by Rennie Childs. I never forget. We were doing some drill, And I tell you, Rennie ran me over. Like my rib. I thought it was a cheap play, and I was kind of like, nah, bro, you just.
You know what was funny about Rennie? Rennie didn't look like he can truck you, but then once you got in the field with him, he was mad.
And that's a good example. Rennie had that. I think he had an understanding of the game.
He did.
He also had athletic, gifted.
Yeah.
But what he had is this grit where he just like, hey, I'm about to be strong and I'm gonna run through you.
Yeah.
He not even mad at you.
Yeah.
And that's the difference.
The nicest, probably one of the most gentlest dudes you ever meet, nicest guy.
People will run straight through you.
Man, will run straight to you. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, man, I wish I could do that.
I just wish you can do that. Nah, man, I remember, because I noticed, after a while when you play football so many years, you can kind of tell who's going to be that guy.
Right.
So I'm in Rennie freshman. I was like, oh, yeah, you're going to be something.
Absolutely.
Boys going to
100%. Colin was like that, too. Colin was just big.
I remember, I'll never forget it, bro. We went into, because I think Colin either hurt his hand or broke his neck freshman or sophomore year. Something happened. I remember we came back for junior year, and then Colin came back like 2 feet taller, a whole beard. And I was just like, bro, what? Come on.
Cheat code.
Dude,
puberty.
Huge, bro. I was like, man, what did this dude do over the summer? And he had like a natural size to him. And then he was athletic too.
Right.
You would never think he was that fast.
Yeah,
fast.
He was fast laterally.
He had that sideline speed.
Yeah,
he had that football speed. I was like, man, like it's a cheat code, bro.
And then what was really the class? It was really the class before us.
Oh, 2010? Oh, yeah.
Hassan Lipscomb, Mike Powell was on that team.
They were deep, man.
Was Russell before us?
Russell was
the class
before? Russell was 09. He was 09. Him and Hassan was 09. When it came to 2010, that was when Mike Powell, KJ, John. They were deep. I feel bad for the coaches because each class got smaller and smaller.
They really did.
Like, I feel
nothing you could do about it.
I can only imagine how they were just trying to adjust because we weren't that big at all. At all. I think Ephraim and Colin was probably the biggest guys, honestly, size-wise. Everybody else was just pretty average.
Yep.
So I was like, yeah.
Tyler Bethune.
Yeah.
He took my spot.
He was the same class with Rennie, right?
He was below me, yeah.
Yeah, he was Henry Rennie was in the same class.
He's the same one.
I remember.
Yep.
He was tall.
That was the thing. You had to have that size at middle linebacker.
You did.
Yeah. Some would play middle linebacker. They see, where my mess up was, and this is where I think things would have changed.
Mm-hmm.
My sophomore year, so I got kicked out of school, ended up getting sent to Detroit or from Detroit to Texas,
right?
And that's how I started in Texas. I wasn't in the football period for spring football,
right?
So I didn't know any of the plays, so that messed me up. And then my sophomore year, I did 1 year of sophomore, and then I should have played JV my junior year. I should have went to varsity because I ain't play at all.
Man, a lot of us didn't play because we didn't have the size. That's something you really couldn't do nothing about that.
Right.
Honestly, we couldn't. None of us could grow up. We were all doing, and then most of us did multiple sports.
Right.
So in the off season, we were getting fat. We were still running probably just as much, if not more.
Because what else did you do in the? I know you wrestled.
I wrestled. Yeah, we wrestled. We both wrestled, and I ran track too. So I couldn't gain a pound to save my life.
See, that was my problem. I should have stuck with one of the sports. I think I was probably better at wrestling.
He was a beast at wrestling.
I was much better at wrestling, but I wrestled 145.
It was some big dudes.
Which was stupid. So I would be 185 during football season.
And then come down 40 pounds on football season. And wrestling season, try to go back up.
It don't make sense.
It didn't make sense.
What is that?
It didn't. Coach ain't help you out at all. I give you no advice. I ain't tell you, man, it's probably not a good idea. Just let you do it.
Hey, no joke. I keep it above. Coach Ray was a different breed.
Yeah.
In that wrestling world, man, it really is.
Especially when he knew you had it.
It was hard.
He was
hard. He no mercy.
No shit. Because you was a beast at wrestling. I never tried to wrestle. I was just there. Bro, it was cool, bro. I was trash at wrestling.
It's a strategy. It's tech.
You have to think, bro. And I didn't, man. I went to wrestling thinking I didn't go out there and out muscle everybody. And I would last all 3 rounds and then lose.
Yeah, that's typically how it is. The same thing with jiu-jitsu, because I didn't realize I had some wrestling experience makes a difference, because I did jiu-jitsu a couple times 2 months ago. I'm not good at jiu-jitsu at all. I'm not even trying to say that. But then do give you a little bit of comfortability in those positions if you have a wrestling background.
Yeah, wrestling was, I tell people all the time, man, wrestling was probably, I had the most fun with wrestling, but I didn't care about winning.
Right.
I wrestled literally just for fun in the stay in shape. It was
you stay in shape.
fun, man. Listen,
You'll be in shape.
wrestling workouts was no joke.
Wrestling got you comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
And I remember everybody, we were kids back then.
Right.
So they were like, oh, man, I'm wearing them slinglets, y'all do all that. Man, I ain't doing that, man. I didn't care. That was fun for me.
Yeah, I care less. I didn't even think about it.
I used to love it, man. Give me the tight singlet, give me the head thing. I didn't care how weird I looked.
And people don't get it. The best thing for me is take out my contacts.
Mm-hmm.
Can't see nothing past like 3 feet. And it's me and this person on this mat. You just going at it.
You just going at it, bro. And that was a good thing about it. I think I appreciated sports like wrestling and track because, football's a team sport.
Yep.
You can be good, but your team can be trash.
Right.
With wrestling, that's you and that person.
Yep.
So that's another thing why I used to love it, man, because it really made me more accountable to me as an athlete doing with wrestling. And it was fun, man. I used to get whooped every time. But I would get back out there every match, man, every match. And it was, I genuinely enjoyed wrestling, even though I lost every match.
And then track.
That is fun.
You just do the track workouts?
Yeah. Oh, I was the actual, so man, the crazy thing, I'm glad you asked that question, bro, because it was really only like 5 or 6 of us that actually went to track practice.
Because I just did the practice.
Yeah.
I didn't do any of the meet.
Yeah, I used to love
it. Ron was to be pissed at me.
He used to say everybody, because nobody, it was either a lot of people came to the practice, didn't go to the meets, or you had everybody come to the meets and didn't want to practice. So I used to do both. I used to be at practice every day, meets. I used to love track. I used to hate the practice, but coming track meets.
The only reason why I didn't go to meets because he always ended practice with them stupid 400.
Yeah, every time.
And I couldn't. That was the only reason why. If he didn't have the 400s there,
yeah,
I probably would have won.
He used to, and at one point he got to doing 600s. I remember one time we had a practice. We had to hit like 2 or 3 of them.
He'd be on that bike.
And
be running, and we right.
And you be out there running for dear life.
Running for your life. He just coasting on the bike.
Yeah, man. Track was actually really fun for me, man. I used to love it. I actually competed with track.
Sports and all is just fun. So it seemed like you got this like everything. You find this enjoyment for sports, right? Now how did that extend past into like college? Because I know how was that?
As far as sports,
or just anything.
So yeah, man, I was thinking this today, bro. I really wish I would have. I'm kind of jealous of today's generation. Not jealous, more like envious. I'm happy for them too, because there's a lot of stuff that we didn't know when it came to football. It was like it came to sports and period. It was like you got to go D1, right? And if you don't go D1, that's a wrap.
Them NIL deals change everything, right? You can go to smaller schools.
You can do anything. So it's like, but I wasn't even aware of smaller schools
at all.
I wasn't aware. I only knew about Blinn because of Cam Newton, like everybody else, right? But I didn't know that you can go D2, D3 in the NAIA. I didn't know you had all those options. I didn't know I could walk on.
Right.
I didn't learn about that till I was like a junior in college. I'm like, I could walk somewhere? What? Like, nobody educated me in those things. So I found out everything kind of late, and kind of the hard way. But it is what it is, man. Sports took me from it. Because I had that same work ethic when it came to working out and training. I started to be a personal trainer right after high school. I did that for like 5-6 years. I was like a group fitness trainer. And then, of course, as I was in college, I fell in love with journalism.
Right. So that's what you do now?
Yeah, that's what I do now. So, yeah, I realized that I can actually write.
Nice.
I didn't realize that until I got in college. I'm getting all these papers for every class. And I'm like the night before knocking out 800-word papers and 9 8-page papers the night before it's due. And I'm like, I'm good at this.
That's feeling you be in that flow.
Bruh, if it give me a deadline, I'm gonna hit that mug. It may be like a minute before, but I'm gonna hit it. So I was just like, okay, I'm actually good at this. And I still love sports.
Right. So you still write? You still do that today?
Yeah, man. I actually work for the Colorado County Citizen. It's like this little small town right outside of Katy.
Nice.
So it's cool, man. It's not. I'm literally writing about everything but sports. But, it's my first like legit introduction into the writing journalism world. Appreciate that, man. Appreciate that. Yeah, man. So it's definitely a stepping stone. It's something that helped me get that experience with understanding how a newspaper works, how a team of a newspaper people works, having deadlines and stuff like that. So it's cool, man. It's an experience. I miss writing about sports, but, I'm starting to get comfortable talking about, all these laws that just passed and govern, and politics and stuff like that. So it's a definitely an interesting experience for me.
Okay. So one thing I've always said that one thing I love about words or writing at all is that you can use words to draw pictures.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I guess how have you made yourself are you more of a creative writer, or how has that helped you?
So for me, I realize, especially doing this now, I realize that passion for what I'm writing about has to be there.
Right.
Like, cause I first started this job, man, I used to like, man, what? Like how I'm gonna talk about schools, and cause it's a small town, so they still have like town hall meetings and everybody know each other, and
Right.
people want to know about a car chase. I'm like, dude. So I'm like, I don't have the passion for that town wasn't there at first.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just like trying to figure out ways to write about it. So I learned about myself real quick that if that passion isn't there, that creative thinking is not there as well. So, I had to find. I'm starting to having to find ways to make it so I can be creative when I write about stuff like this. So it's cool.
Cool. And then we talked before we got on camera.
Mm-hmm.
I think you mentioned it.
Mm-hmm.
You got a kid.
Yeah, man.
About to be 7?
Yeah, man. She about to be 7 and on the 18th.
How's it feel to be a father, Andre?
Bro, it's really unreal. It's the best thing in the world. I love it. I don't hate anything about it. But it's really unreal, to be honest. It's really unreal. There's days where I'm like, man, I got a cold. I'll go in my closet and I got pictures of her everywhere. So I'll go in my closet, man. I'll see her picture. And I'm just like,
that's wild, man. You inspire me, bro. I have 0 kids.
Hey, man, take your time, bro.
Oh, what's this one? We chilling.
Ain't no rush, man. And you're doing it the right way. That's what I always say, bro. I admire what you do. You got married in a covenant, and you guys are gonna have children in that covenant. Unfortunately, me and my daughter's mom, we're not together, but through God's grace, we was able to raise, still raise a healthy, beautiful, smart child. You know what I mean? So, it's now that I'm older and wiser, I want to have that covenant now when I have the rest of my kids. I don't want to do that outside that covenant no more. So, yeah, man. But as far as being a father, man, I love it, bro. Like because I had that desire growing up to be a dad, it was just even though I didn't have my father there, man, it was still just, I don't want to say it was easy for me to be a dad. It was just something I wanted, so I did what I had to do. Yeah,
that's dream.
Yeah, so yeah, man. So I be trying to tell dudes like, cause at first, I remember when I first had Belle, and I posted all the time, and some of our friends from school. Yeah. So her name is Bella, but we call her Belle.
Got it.
So some of our friends from school, when they were having their kids, they'll be like, man, how you do this, or how X, Y, and Z. And it was dope to see, young men like they have that interest to be like, they want to be a good dad.
Right.
Some guys just genuinely don't know how.
Correct.
And then what I'm learning more and more, gratefully, I'm so thankful I'm able to spend at will time with my daughter. I can have my daughter as much as I want to. Me and her mom had that type of relationship where you want her, you can have her.
That's a blessing.
Not everybody have that.
Right.
Some guys, they have an emotional disconnect with their child simply because they can't always be there because of the arrangement or whatever they have with their child's mom. So I'm grateful for my situation, that I'm able to just have that relationship with Belle, and, there's no emotional gaps or hiccups there between me and her.
Bro, that's truly inspiring.
Appreciate it.
You make me want to be a dad. Shoot, I'm so scared. And the reason why I'm scared is because, it's such a huge responsibility. It is. Back when me and my wife started dating, we like, oh yeah, we gonna have like 3 kids, 4 kids, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, let's now I'm there. It's like, let's just get 1.
Yeah.
Just because I'm starting to realize, how I raise this child is going to impact this world in a great way.
True.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We live in a day and age where your choices can change everything.
Exactly.
So I want to raise somebody and be diligent and know that I'm not going to be perfect.
Right.
My wife's not going to be perfect. This child's not going to be perfect, but hopefully steward them in a way to where they can do good things.
If you just, I'm thinking about this the other day, man, I'm always thinking about Belle. If you just look at your child like how God looks at us with that grace, bro, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
That's literally all you got to do. You're going to make mistakes. Like we still make mistakes with Belle. So, mistakes are going to get made, but just have that grace with yourself,
Speaking of grace, I'm realizing, like, you probably one of the only people I've linked up with after high school.
Yeah.
like consistently. Like,
Yeah. We always run into each other, always. Yeah.
Right, just a couple times. I actually came to your church,
Yeah.
the KV concert.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
I remember that.
And
Yeah.
you know what's funny is because like I never forget. Do you remember my phone going off in the middle of the concert?
Nah.
KV stopped the concert and he was saying something, and he was like talking about something inspiring.
Yeah, he was giving like a little word in between. Yeah.
And then my phone goes off in the middle of the concert. I had to get on phone. I had to take it apart, turn it off. He called me out. He was like, "Is that Instagram?"
Only Doug, right?
I was.
That's funny. I didn't even know that. I don't even remember that part happening, but that's funny.
You was looking right at me. You did just like this. You just put your hand down.
Hey, that's funny, man. But hey, man, we definitely have linked up quite a bit at the high school. We're the I think we're I mean, there's more of us, but we're very obvious about our faith as well.
Right.
That's one thing you and I genuinely have in common. And I didn't even know that in high school about you. But and then we both, as we got older, kind of just,
Oh, when I was in high school, I go back and forth.
Right.
I gotta ask Jesus.
Right.
Like, when was I saved?
Yeah.
I really said I got saved when I was 19.
Right. Okay.
I just did my testimony like last week.
Really?
I just posted it so you can check it out. But I got saved when I was 19.
That's what's up.
I went to rehab and everything.
That's what's up,
because I was smoking so much weed.
Yeah.
But I didn't even high school. I didn't. So football and sports kept me out of that.
Okay.
But my first time smoking, especially up in Detroit, I was 12 years old.
Wow.
So if I was around it,
I
was around it.
Right.
I had access to it. Right. They would do it. High school come, I didn't really have that.
I didn't have that access. Like,
I'm in football, sports, be good. Senior year, football season, I didn't do anything second semester.
Right.
That's when things start really going wild.
Yeah, all that idle time and free space. Yeah.
But for me, it really wasn't just the weed. It was other stuff that came with it. I started doing like ecstasy.
Wow.
I used to do bars, got heavy in LSD and shrooms. And I just thought I was invincible.
Really, bro? I had no idea.
Yeah, no one did. I did a good job of putting in the hand.
Fantastic job.
I was like,
bro, I had no idea.
But it all hit,
What made you want to go to rehab?
Man, I had a whole breakdown, bro. Like, things really went south. Long story short, I feel like the Lord used this one incident, and he just rewired my brain. Because when I went to rehab, like, man, I got out, everything was different.
Right.
Like, salvation for me was like a light switch. Like, God just said, boom.
Yeah.
And everything was strange. Like, I'm listening to the same song I was listening to. I'm like, this is weird.
It's weird.
Why does sound like this? I don't want to smoke weed no more. I done smoked every day for the last I don't know how many years at this time. And like, for some reason, I get the desire not to smoke anymore.
That's dope, man.
It was very strange. I was throwing my bombs away.
That's dope.
It was like waging war.
Yeah.
Because it was some dumb stuff. Like, I'd throw my bomb away, be clean for like 2 weeks, and then try to go get some more weed or something.
That's what I was just about to say. It was a war. Yeah, it was a battle.
A battle, for sure.
It's definitely a battle, because that's what I think, especially when we get saved so young like that. A lot of us, I think we understand, but we don't understand that it's amazing that we do the actions to get saved, get baptized, we confess it, and then we get saved, right? But it's still a war after that, and it's still a back and forth war. Like, we're still living our flesh forever. And it's almost like, we both into fitness, so it's almost like working out.
Yes.
Like, you can say, hey, these are my fitness goals, but you still got to put that work in. Like, you can't go to the gym and throw 315 on that bar and just no spot, no whatever, and just hit that mud. You still you got to build to that point. You need help, aka community, to get to that point, man. So it's definitely a real thing, man.
That's a great analogy.
Hey, man, hey, man, I'm dope, man. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's interesting because when you talking about like fitness and everything, something I always tell people is like, I don't suggest you have like an aesthetic goal. I think if you have a goal of, hey, I want to move the best I could possibly move, and I want to feel the best I could possibly feel.
That's a great goal.
If that's your goal and you doing fitness, you're going to lift for the rest of your life.
Right.
And the same thing, if you think about life, I'm not trying to look good enough. I'm trying to pursue God.
Exactly.
Every single day. And you can do that for the rest of your life into eternity.
You have to do it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Nah, That's real, man. It's like you said with fitness. If the goal is to, hey, I just want to be healthy, just want to have a healthy lifestyle. I want to pass this on to my children, to my family. You will continue it. But if your goal is like, well, I want to bench 315. I want to be able to run 3 miles.
Right.
Once you hit those goals, you're like, okay, well,
What else?
what's next?
Exactly.
And then you start the process all over again. But if that, continuing goal, like you said, man, is this that's been that's been my goal, man. It's just to pursue God. Like really be out there his heart, man, and just pursue him. And and that's a everyday battle.
It sure is.
Every day. So
what would you say? What's your testimony, bro? Get into that if you got an idea.
Yeah, man. So what would I say my testimony is, man? I've never given a testimony before. Because sometimes I feel like I do have one, but I don't.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this, too. You can think about it. I ask a lot of people this question, and this is it's something I ask myself, too. So I feel like it's just a good heart gauge. You know what I mean? So I ask myself, how do I view God? And how do I believe God views me? So I ask you that. How do you view God, and how do you think God views you?
I view God, man. How do I view God, man? I view God as just the ultimate grace. I view God as a parent, and it's just like an everlasting type love. And I view him. For me, it's easier to view him like how I view, if the roles are reversed with me and Bill, if that makes sense. So, and then I'm starting to get into a habit to view him as like you're supposed to view him, like as far as like in a marriage context.
Yeah.
So, that's what I've been training myself these last few months to view him as, rather than just a figure of imagination type deal, but actually view him as, okay, now if I was married to this person, what would this person want me? If God was me and I was Bill, what would I want? Like, how would I want to be, obedient and be honest and stuff like that? Even when I do mess up, just talk to him about it, which is like prayer and everything. So that's has actually helped me, in my relationship with God, is having that understanding. And then how I think he views me how I view Belle, to be honest. It's just that, man, like in my eyes, Belle can't do nothing wrong. That's baby girl. I love her to death. She can't do anything wrong. And, when she does do wrong, I'm there for her, so, and, I give her that discipline, which is out of love.
Correct.
You know what I mean? So if I didn't love her, I wouldn't tell her she's wrong. Like Belle, for an example, Belle started school last week, and Belle loves to go swimming. If it was up to her, she'd be in the pool every day, all day. But Belle gets sick. So I gotta tell Belle, hey, you can't go swimming. And her little eyes just get the, Daddy, I want to get in the pool. I'm like, well, baby, you sick. And then if you go to school, they're gonna send you home, but they don't want the other kids getting sick, and teachers don't want to get sick. Now everybody's sick. All of you want to go swimming. So nah, baby, you can't do it, And even when she have her little moments where she get mad or want to stomp off, I say, all right, bro, go sit down, don't cry, think about it. I'll be here when you get back. So
that's so interesting because, like, even if the roles switch, like, we had those moments with God, but for Belle in that moment, like, her world is so small. All she sees is a swim pool.
Yep.
You see something so much greater.
Exactly.
You know,
whole picture. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a nice picture. I like it. It's like you switch it. It's like, man, we complain and we kind of be fighting with God.
That's absolutely how God is. And
you just see this.
Jerry is talking about that now. Pastor Lee is talking about that now, man. Like how do you react when God says no?
Right.
Like, can you accept his no, and how do you react when he does say no? Because, and we're still human. We're in our flesh every day. So, when God says no, we still, dang, man, really? All right, God may say, and it's the simple things, like things you'll never imagine, things that he says no to that I don't even think we think about sometimes. It's like, it may not be, like right now, you're saying, man, I want to have kids, but I know right now, we're still thinking about it. And that's God putting on your heart saying, hey, right now it's a good time for you to have kids. And that's a good thing. Now, other people may say, I want to have kids. And they just have kids, right? And it ain't time for them to have kids. But through God's grace, things be okay, right? But see, we don't realize that's God's grace. We just think, we willed our way through it.
Yes.
But that's just him being merciful and graceful.
And that's interesting conversation because it made me think of this. And this is why I feel like the human dilemma is, right? Our biggest problem with our flesh is that we get choices, right?
Right.
And we have a hard time labeling choices, what is a good choice
or a bad choice.
What is a bad choice.
Yeah.
And sometimes we make something that's good, and God's like, I really want you to go that way.
Yeah.
And it's hard to really know what it is. You only get it. You only hear his voice if you actually try to listen to his voice.
Yeah, man. That's so crazy. You're talking about. I'll tell you, we're literally having a whole series on this right now at church. I kid you not, bro. But yeah, man, that's true, man. You have to actually listen for his voice. He gave an example of it, basically asking like, hey, like, how do you know when God's talking to you, right? Like, how do you know his voice? And he gave an example. It's like if you're a parent and you have a kid and you have a child, like if Belle's at the park with 10 other kids and they're all playing and screaming and Belle started crying, I would literally know her cry.
Yep.
Right? Or if, Belle's playing and like 1,000 people are around, I'm like, Belle, let's go. She'll know that's my daddy calling me, I gotta go. That's kind of how we are. That's kind of how we want to be with God when he's talking to us, in the instincts of, being able to hear his voice with all that noise around us. Being able to hear when he's telling us, don't make that decision. Even though they may be what you want and that opportunity is right there for you, but I got something better and greater for you.
Okay. So how do you practice habits that will help you hear God's voice better? And I know that's kind of a deep question.
It is, but it isn't at the same time. It's deep if that's something you never thought about before. I think about that all the time.
Okay.
Just having an intimate time with him.
Yeah.
Gotta spend intimate time with God, man. Whether that's, on my way to work, and in between, leaving work, coming home, whether it's at night, whether it's like super early in the morning, just whenever, man, just gotta have that constant time with him. So I really do want to hear his voice. And that's something I really want to hear, especially before I get married and I have a whole family to be ahead of, man. That's one of my worst fears, is just like, it's not really it's a fear, but it's like a worry, like, whew.
I'm
it's
glad
scary, bro.
you're concerned about it.
Yeah.
It's a good concern. It's while you're talking, it made me think of this. Before me and my wife got married, my quiet time, I used to go to the park.
Yeah.
I loved it. And you're exactly right. I think the best way you can really train yourself to hear God's voice is having that quiet, intimate time with God.
That's how, yeah.
Would you driving, go to a coffee shop?
Right.
Bro, I used to go to the coffee shop and just be there.
Just be there.
And it will be like, no joke, like I put my headphones on, I got my notebook, I have my Bible, and it's like a river just kind of flows.
Yeah.
And I'm just, don't worry about the time, right?
Right.
Go to the park, look at a tree,
right,
and just look at it. And just be with God.
Yeah.
And if you and then what was interesting, you mentioned marriage, is as you get older, those quiet times may shift, it may change.
Exactly.
You have other responsibilities.
Yeah.
It's good. God wants me to spend time with my wife. God wants me to care for my family.
Right.
But also I have to start to change and say, okay, now how will I give my quiet time?
You have to really put effort. And that's what makes chasing God, like you said earlier, man, just being out there is hard, so unique, because nobody accidentally make it to heaven. Nobody accidentally becomes a Christian, right? It's effort. It's all effort. So you, like you said, like as you get older and you have a family and things like that, you genuinely have to put effort into having, you may have 5 kids. Well, I got to get up an extra hour early if I want to have this quiet time with God, because once this day starts, well, I ain't some better do it. I don't know if
KB said this or he was quoting somebody else. On his podcast, he said, grace is not opposed to effort, it's opposed to earning. So God's grace in your life is opposed to you trying to earn his grace.
Right.
But through life, you're supposed to put forth effort.
Right.
That means you still should try.
Yeah.
I think we can kind of get this like numb Christianity where it's like, oh, I'm a Christian.
Right.
And I'm going to stay still.
Right.
I ain't going to do nothing. I ain't going to say nothing.
Yeah.
No, I think we're called to glorify God.
We're 1,000%. We're called to glorify him and to pursue him every single day that we can, and pursue him and do everything that we do.
100%.
So yeah, I agree with that 100%. Like you said, we get numb. And unfortunately that happens a lot. And it's it's more culture and everything, but thankfully I'm thankful that I realized that we have to pursue him.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so we gonna keep going too. By the way, I'm gonna ask a question. I ask a question every time. Built by Fear is a podcast about passion and that drive.
Okay.
So where do you get your current passion, and where do you think God is going to send you in the next 10 years?
What do I think God's going to send me? I'm prayerfully hoping that God will, I'm prayerfully and hopefully God will send me. God will send me where. God will send me where He wants me to be. You know, um, I'm trying not to say, man, that I wanna be where I want to be because I really want His will to be done. Honestly, and if I had it my way, I'm on ESPN, bro. You know what I'm saying? I'm up there with Stephen A. We talking, we going back and forth. I'm making six, seven figures. Bill in private school. I'm happily married. I'm flying on my friend. Like that's what I want, right?
Sure.
Great. But at the end of the day, I have to be realistic and say, I really just want His will to be done 10 years from now. And hopefully that can somehow mirror what my desire is for myself and my career. So yeah, and you said what the passion that I have that feels there, like what keeps me passionate.
Right.
Man, what keeps me passionate, man, is just I know what I want.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think that's one of the. I used to talk to Jeff Franks.
Yeah.
Jeff is the godfather of Bell, man. That's my dog, man. I used to talk to him about it all the time, man. Like it's one of the. I think one of the dopest things about like us, me and you, and like our friends like Colin and John and everybody, stuff like that. We know what we want. There's a lot of people, unfortunately, and it's normal. It happens. You get out of high school, you really don't know what you want out of life.
Limbo.
And you're in limbo. And that's how things, sometimes gracefully, some people fall into things, but a lot of times people just fall into things, that they, unfortunately fall into negative things. So thankfully, it got placed on my heart early on in college where I knew what I wanted.
Okay.
I knew I wanted to be a journalist. I knew I needed to have this degree. I knew I needed to pursue it this way, that way. Thankfully, I have the desire that's where I want to be. There's certain people that, man, they're just working jobs just to work jobs.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, because they really don't, their desire is just to be happy and make money one day, but they don't have that particular desire to how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really what keeps me going, and knowing that I want to build a better life for me, for Belle, and hopefully my future, wife and family.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully, man, Belle can see her father following his dreams so she can have that desire to follow her dreams.
What's like your end perspective or end goal for like journalism? Where do you think you see that go? I know you want to do sports journalism. You ever think about preaching?
Definitely not. I'm not a preacher at all.
Hey,
definitely not preaching. Yeah, man, definitely not preaching. Right. I'll write before I preach. I'll write before I preach. Oh man, I'll leave my house, but ultimately, man, I'm a server.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely don't want to preach at all, man. I'm behind closed doors, background.
What's weird? It's a difference between preaching and pastoring.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That preaching is that spiritual gift. Someone goes on the stage, they may talk about God. And I feel like maybe the church mishandled that spiritual gift because I feel like now we have a lot of churches where you're looking at one person. That's a different conversation.
Right.
But pastor is that individual going into other people's lives and being that servant.
Right.
That's what you're talking about. Slow.
Yeah.
Being meek. You know what I'm saying? That's the pastor.
Yeah.
He thinking about it now. He like,
it ain't. I know what you mean, but it definitely.
You just never. I'm gonna say you never know. You never know. Because it's interesting. Because I didn't think about that either. But like, reason why I want to say that is because I say preaching. Okay, what is preaching? What do you think of when I say preaching? Because I could think of preaching as like what I did last week. I did my little testimony, and I was talking about 1 John. I mean, I guess that's kind of preaching a little bit, but is it really? I'm just talking.
Yeah, just open talking, yeah.
Exactly. But like, with your writing, I got into writing too. I didn't know I could write until I got saved.
Yeah.
Like, I was in rehab, like, low-key James and a couple other people was like my first real friends post that event.
Yeah.
All my friends dipped. Because anytime I would just not stop talking about Jesus, bro.
And they was okay with it.
Especially if I had some weed. If I smoked at all, bro, I'm about to talk about Jesus. Oh yeah, they couldn't stand me.
Yeah.
But I was like, my brain was just like rewired.
Right.
So next thing you know, I was by myself. No one else was really linking up with me. So I'm like, oh cool, I'm just gonna work. I go to coffee shop and I just write.
Right.
And I wrote out to God. It came out in poetry. And that's actually how I ended up linking up with James, just through poetry and different stuff like that. And he did this. He didn't do spoken word. He did the song, sing acoustic. You sing? And bro, what? Bro taught himself how to sing. Yeah.
Oh, I gotta hear it. You know, I gotta hear it now. Yeah, I gotta hear that now. I need that link before I leave, bro. No, I need that link before I leave. I need to see that.
But there's a group of us. Me, Fenor. We talking about Fenor, Steven, James, Diego. A couple of us. There's some more people too, but we used to go to different spoken words and do it all over Houston. And I never really realized, and I don't write as much anymore. Right. But back then, it was just like this wave where God was really like, he gave me something.
Yeah.
So I think that he can give us gifts, and sometimes our gifts can be so close to us, we don't realize how gifted we are in it.
That makes sense.
You know what I'm
saying? Yeah.
So like, how can you use your gift to glorify God? Oof.
Not preaching. No, I'm playing.
I mean, not preaching. It may not be preaching, but it may be the way you write and whatever
that's
form of writing you do in the future, or whatever gifts God may have you can do.
That's true. That's something to think about for real.
Make you glorify the Lord, brother. You know what I'm saying?
That's the goal. That's the goal.
Absolutely.
The goal is to glorify Him no matter what I do. So it's the goal. Yeah.
Man. Okay. Hey, Andre, I gotta say, bro. I mean, it's been almost 10 years since I really linked up and chopped it up like this. I mean, I think we met up.
I met up at Whataburger. I saw you at City Center with your wife recently. That was like earlier this year, a few months ago.
But bro, when I see the growth that we both had in the last like 10 years, it's kind of cool to see how God ensured us and to allow us to come in of God. So, bro, it's been a pleasure having you on the show.
Appreciate you, man.
Thanks for coming out.
Appreciate you, bro.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having me, man. Anytime.
For sure.
You know, I was
We can get you back on here. This is good.
This is real good. This is real good. You gotta do like a part 2, part 3.
I'm gonna come up with some conversation like topics we can get on and just poke your brain or some stuff. I thought you said some good stuff.
Anytime, bro.
For sure.
Anytime. Now I gotta see James.
I'll get him more. We need to get James on here and just interview him and hear his story too. Yeah. But anyway, this has been Built by Fear Podcast. Thanks, y'all. Have a blessed day.